Now it is my pleasure to go further and introduce our next keynote speaker. This is Pierre Meulien, who is the head of the Innovative Medicine Initiative. Pierre is a good friend of our event, and I can recall a brief meeting between him and me in London, I think 5 or 6 years ago. And we went together a long way to be now here. Last year he was grilled on an interview, and this year he's giving a keynote lecture. Pierre, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Dimitar. Thank you for the invitation. It's always a pleasure to participate in these great events. I think I'm going to be able to share my slides with you if I can work the technology. So I think you should be able to see my slides, and I'll just put them on there.
Yes, we see them perfectly.
Okay, okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yes.
So I listened into the some of the discussion before, and so I hope you'll find some relevant information on this in this presentation that's very relevant to the discussion, I hope. So we are in the middle of a very interesting, quite complex, but interesting transition from the Innovative Medicines Initiative to the Innovative Health Initiative. And so in my presentation, I'll divide it into two, because I think when the design was made for IHI, a lot of the learnings and direction have come, of course, from our experience with IMI, including a lot of taking up recommendations that were made following the programmatic evaluation of IMI. And so I'll half of my presentation will be on IMI and some of the things that we've been able to do there, and how that has been priming the design for IHI. So people just before were talking about how important it is to have everyone around the table and from the very beginning of a particular project or discussion, and how important this safety of a neutral platform is. And that is exactly what IMI has provided for its projects. Now, it is, of course, a project by project, and what everybody's looking for is for this kind of model to work in a systemic way and becomes a kind of general concept for any kind of discussion. But this is a key for accelerating what we do. It's a key for understanding different perspectives, which are absolutely key for us, because all of these groups here have a different take, and so this understanding, collective understanding of where people are coming from, has been, I think, a key success factor in IMI. So we finished our allocation in IMI, all 5 billion euro of it. As you can see, we have had a lot of things going on in infectious disease, a lot of things in brain disorders, and there are reasons for this, because this particular partnership lends itself to some of these things, and I will talk a little bit about those later on. And of course, we've done a lot of horizontal things in terms of data, digital stuff, drug discovery platforms, and so on and so forth from that perspective. Another key piece, and I know that you've been talking about the patient piece already, but this has been right from the beginning of IMI an important factor involving patients. So you can see some of the stats here. I'm not going to go into them, but you know, these have been key. And I mention Alzheimer's Europe here because they're a fantastic example of, they've been involved in all of our Alzheimer projects from the beginning, and have really been strategically important in terms of the design, the impacts, and all of the things that we've done in Alzheimer. And this is not a static thing, of course. We learned a lot over the past decade or so, but I can tell you that it's just a continuum, it's a journey, and one which we hope that we like to feel that we're at the cutting edge of this, but I think the journey is only just beginning, and I think we do. I think Joanna already stated this, that we need to move from a patient involvement to a citizen engagement, because we're all going to be part of this, whether we all will get a chronic disease at some stage. We'll all be caring for others, and so this mindset is very important for us. So we've obviously have had a patient involvement, and at the level of our scientific committee. Klaas Rohl is an Austrian member who's been a fantastic ambassador for the patient voice within IMI. But we also have created more recently a larger pool of patient experts. There are 150 of these, and these include not only patients but family members and carers, and these people are considered as experts. So we consider them having the same voice as a research expert or a clinical expert in our evaluation panels, or in our strategic groups, or in they have been fantastic in helping us communicate the value of what we've been doing and the research results we have. And this will continue, and we need to work with them to strategize around how patients and citizens will get involved under IHI. So I know that people are fed up with me saying that IMI is not for everyone and it's not for everything, but for certain things there are sweet spots where public-private partnerships really take maybe some of the only things can be done through this type of collaborative partnership. And these have included, of course, on the IMI portfolio, technology platforms, whether they be digital or vaccines, monoclonal antibodies, high throughput screening. We've had a great success in bridging some of the gaps in the system, pediatric clinical trials, use of medicine in pregnant women, market failures, true market failures like AMR, antimicrobial resistance, very complex but highly relevant public health burdens like dementia and other neuro diseases, as well as diabetes, and then others that are undergoing technology convergence, and there's a list there. But also, and I think Thomas related to this before, you know, this is a model where we can share risk, where the companies, of course, we're in a pre-competitive space here, but the companies can feel that for certain things, you know, they're willing to share data. It's not all about keeping it to themselves, especially in some of these really key things where they can compete downstream for lots of things, but for the more upstream stuff, they need to collaborate. There's a huge awareness across the industry now that that collaboration and this link with the public sector is absolutely key. So there are a few themes that have been quite successful. We've had a lot of success in accelerating certain aspects of clinical research, whether this has been to do with developing systems that allow accelerating recruitment. We have a thing called Pharma Ledger, which really is at the cutting edge of blockchain technology in being able to protect those who need to be protected while we go to this new digital world in using wearables, monitors, and so on and so forth. We've also done a lot in clinical research platforms, these new kind of platforms where different clinical pathways can be looked at. We have a very interesting one in Alzheimer's disease. Here's another one, EU Pearl, which is multi-disease, and of course, taking advantage of all of the digital stuff in a project called Trials at Home. And I know we've already heard a lot about these technologies. And this is once again, I think we're all very good at technology pushing, but how do we get the readiness of the health systems to bring this in? And this remains a big challenge that you've already talked about before. Now, obviously, IHI, as we'll hear in a minute, is a kind of cross-sector partnership. People were saying, okay, IMI is fine, but why is it only the pharma industry? Why don't we expand this to take advantage of the technology convergence going on? And indeed, in IMI, we already had quite a lot of interactions with those industries around imaging. For example, in AMIPAD, an Alzheimer's disease project. And I'm always saying, you can't have a credible Alzheimer program without high-end medical imaging. We can't have a credible antimicrobial resistance program without rapid diagnostics. And of course, the digital stuff is everywhere. So it makes total sense to take advantage of that kind of convergence. And here we have some SME spin-off from Etrix. There's a lot of the information technology for translational medicines. We have a lot of SMEs involved in the Eden project, the European Health Data and Evidence Network, which has been amazing recently in its impact on the COVID pandemic. And we've been, of course, in the diagnostics domain. This is just a quick example on Ebola, where this test is actually currently being tested in the field in the DRC. And generally, a lot of our projects have been doing a lot during the COVID-19 pandemic. Here, we know that there's been a lot of interest in the mental health aspects of COVID, and the Radar CNS project has been very active in this domain. And if you just look at the activity report, the annual activity report of IMI for 2020, you'll see an awful lot of things that have been involved in the COVID-19 pandemic. Projects that were, okay, ZAPI is a particular project that was destined for and designed around preparedness for response to pandemics. So this was fantastic. This was started 5 years ago, well before COVID started, but a lot of the outputs of that were immediately taken up by the system. So there was a readiness there already. And then I've talked about Eden. Conception was also very useful in delivering guidance for example, vaccination in pregnant women, and so on and so forth. And you can look at that report on our website whenever you like. One of the big things and one of the challenging things, of course, has been around the sustainability. Examples of IMI projects that have been very successful in that are here. I'm not going to go through all of them, but they do, they have been either able to start non-profit organizations where they've been able to set up funding mechanisms to keep a lot of the things going. The Upati Foundation is one of the great examples, and now you have all of these European platforms that have taken the toolkit and so on from Upati, the Patient Academy that was launched through IMI many years ago, and this is now expanded and is in many European countries as sustained entity. So this is great. You can look at the others. You can also look at some of the tools that have been commercially exploited here, and of course we're very interested in follow-up funding opportunities that have been made possible through different European mechanisms. And this Get Real, this was one of our first projects in real-world evidence. This Get Real Institute was launched in the spring, and we're very happy that that project has found a way of sustaining all of the great things that it has produced, and you can look at its own website there. Hot off the press, I just thought I would include some slides on our bibliometrics data, because of course this is at the front end. This is something we measure quite carefully in terms of the output. You know, some people at the beginning were saying, well, if we get involved in industry, it means we're not going to be able to publish. By the way, the science in industry isn't as good as the science in academia. So will the quality of our publications be up to scratch? So this is a very short summary of the very in-depth bibliometric analysis that covers it's a cumulative, covers 10 years of IMI's life. And it'll be available tomorrow, I think, on the IMI website. You can see, of course, there's a volume thing. We're up to, I think, over 7,000 publications. So the volume is great. A little dip in 2019, which just is because of the phasing of the program ending of IMI 1 and some of the projects there, and ramping up of IMI 2 publications, of course. But look at the quality of this in terms of the citation impact, and this is ranked very similar to the Wellcome Trust or MRC or the Foundation of the NIH at the top of the range of the best quality research in the world. And of course, as we're a public-private partnership, we're highly collaborative, and the research is highly collaborative. You can see that the amounts of collaboration are fantastic, whether they be cross-sector, cross-institution, or international. And also, once again, the quality of that collaborative research is higher than if it's a single sector, single institution, or just a domestic one country thing. So this is indicating that when we do these things well, it's not only highly productive, but the quality of the stuff that's being produced is really excellent. And then we have global outreach. I mean, it's a European program, but just look at the stats here. In 117 countries, there are at least one IMI funded publication. So it's a European program, but it has real global impact. So now in the next few minutes, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the Innovative Health Initiative. Just a disclaimer, of course, saying that this partnership does not exist legally yet, but it will do. And we yesterday we learned that we have political agreements across the member states for this to go ahead, along with all of the other partnerships, and the legislation should be put into practice by the end of this year. Well, I probably will be right at the end of the year, but it'll be a nice Christmas present for all of us. Which means that we will be able to, in the first few months of 2020, ramp up the thing so that we can put out our first call in the springtime next year. And the implementation of this was based on a new approach to partnerships in terms of it was clear that it was not going to be business as usual. We were just not going to do an IMI 3. It had to be something different. It had to be involving a greater number of partners in terms of the founding member thing. And we also wanted to reinforce the openness around which we developed the strategy around this, and so on and so forth. So this is what happened, and we were, of course, taking a lot of the drivers for creating the partnership around the experience gained from IMI, involving then other industry sectors other than the pharmaceutical industry, open to the participation of various types of public and private entities apart from the founding members. Of course, we were going to keep the pre-competitive areas, but we were going to stretch them out to include all the prevention, early diagnosis, treatment and disease management, where the new sectors could really be of real value add and reflect a little bit about the more holistic nature of how we want to see our healthcare systems. And looking, of course, at the highest burden for patients and society, and looking to respond to the immediate EU public health challenges. Having wider access to data and expertise. Of course, it's a focus, as I say, of activities conducted in Europe, but with, of course, the global impact. And this just shows you what we're moving towards in terms of we want to take advantage of this convergence of technology, and you're not going to do that with a siloed mentality or a siloed industry sectors. And we need to experiment on how to do this. And in order to do that, this gives rise to this new grouping of founding members, and I'll talk to you a little bit about that right now, because not only, of course, FPIA, including Vaccines Europe, will remain as a founding member, but very importantly, bringing in Europa Bio, MedTech Europe, and COSIR, which will give us the full remit. As you know, MedTech Europe is very much diagnostics, medical devices, and has a lot of SME participants as part of their ecosystem. And we want to include more SMEs. This is one of the things that, although there were, I think, over 300 SMEs involved in the last version of IMI, it was seen as this was not enough, and we needed to ramp up that participation. And COSIR then is all the imaging, the digital, the high instrument manufacturers, and they have joined as partners too. So this is the new configuration. The objectives are very broad, but really try and go a little more downstream, and really to try and look at, I would say, create new innovation pathways that allow our great technologies to be brought into the health system. I'll give you reference details so that you can see all of the documentation at your leisure afterwards. And we're really trying to contribute to the sustainability of the healthcare systems, trying to accelerate things, trying to find new business models, because we know that in order to have receptivity by the health systems, we need to have much more new models of health economics to understand what the value of proposition is. And of course, this hopefully will give rise to improved health outcomes, and as well for Europe have more of a cross-sectoral thing. So it will be a new partnership. It will have a 2.4 billion euro budget, half of this coming from the Commission, half of it from partners and the industry members and other contributing partners that we will have. And the admin costs will be, of course, divided between the public and private members. There is a strategic and innovation agenda. You can see the link here. It's available. You can see it have a link as well through the IHI page on the IMI website, where that's another transition that's ongoing as we speak too. Please have a look at that. It's a very broad agenda. We do not have a list of diseases that we're going to tackle because this is we want to be disease agnostic in this particular partnership. And the governance structure, then we will have our governing board with the members that you saw before, half from the Commission and half from our new industry partners. We will have contributing partners. This is like the IMI2 associated partner piece. We will have a new panel, advisory panel called the Science and Innovation Panel. And this will be the panel. They have quite an extended scientific, but also health systems related people on there. And they will be in charge of looking at what we will actually run as topics and run as calls. And of course, we will have a state representative group from the member states as an advisory body as well. So I'm finishing there. You can find all of this information at these different links. But please have a look at the IMI website. We have a dedicated IHI website page there, and I hope that will be of use to you. So, Bogi,
thank you.
Sorry for running over a little bit, maybe, but happy to answer questions. And
yeah, this was very interesting, and thank you also for taking us into the new world of IHI, which, as you say, is different and probably also needed, based on all the good knowledge and all the good results from the IMI and building further. But you are also, even if you are a specific program, you also work with others, so cancer missions and health emergencies and those other EU programs, isn't that right?
Yes, indeed, and it's the synergy piece is going to be very important for the new program, and this will be for the governing board. They will be in charge of really trying to drive that synergy program. And you mentioned too the cancer mission, which obviously we will be contributing to. The mechanisms of that need to be worked out, but also this Health Emergency Preparedness and Response Authority. You know, as you know, we were able to respond, and we responded to the Ebola crisis in 2014. We responded to the COVID crisis more recently. And so obviously this is a mechanism that lends itself to be able to do certain things, and we would like to contribute to that. There's another partnership, a public-public partnership called the European Partnership on Transforming Health and Care Systems that will be set up. And here is the way we would like to interface with health systems in Europe. Because once again, we have to find a way of having meaningful interaction and productive interactions with health systems. Otherwise, we won't do what we're supposed to do.
Thank you. And just going back to some of your very interesting points here. So it's horizontal, it's very cross-disciplinary, it has patient involvement, it shares risk. But of course, when you share risk, you also need to share some of the benefits. That's the nature of it, which needs to be there. And you touched on this readiness of the systems. And so that's a part that we are pushing very much also with the movement side, and hope that that's something we maybe can help you with, if you tell us how we can help.
Well, I mean, I think that a lot of the calls for proposals where people from public and private sectors can come in and try and, you know, you will be the people who will be actually mobilizing the society in this different way, in these different ways. And so we will be able to provide, you know, the financing, and we will be able to provide the industry input and mobilizing their side but we need the actors, and hopefully we can help you through funding and through getting these neutral platforms together where this multi-staker discussion can happen. We hope to be able to facilitate that. So yes, I mean, I think it's through those different pieces that we'll be able to actually implement these new innovation pathways that really need to be driven into the health system.
Yes, and just I mean, we are both big friends of the Biotech Atelier, and it is placed in Sofia in Bulgaria, even if we are around the world right now. So and this bridge between East and West, and pushing more development and more prosperity in the East, is that something we also can expect to have a focus?
Yes. So indeed, the other challenge that we had, and that was picked up in the evaluation. So we had there were a few that were really key. There was the cross-sector one. Why only pharma? Second, there was why only 300 SMEs? Why not 3,000? And the third one, of course, very low participation of EU 13 countries. And this, Dimitar and I have had lots of discussion about this. And as soon as I can travel, I want to do with my colleagues a roadshow in EU 13 countries where we would, because I think the new thing will allow smaller companies and smaller participants to be able to get involved. And I know that's a very maturing ecosystem in these countries, but I'm always impressed when I go to these countries. I'm always impressed by the quality of the people and the quality of the science that gets done. So there's no reason why we can't increase the percentage of people, investigators, SMEs, industry partners. There's no reason at all, but we need to get the information out there. We need to make sure that these people aren't intimidated by bigger groups or whatever. They might need to try a few times before they're successful, but this is how it's going to work. And there is no reason why the EU countries cannot participate in a much more significant way than they have done in the past.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I will give it to Dimitar to close this very, very good sessions. Thank you, Pierre. Very, very good as always.
Yes, as usually, this was a great talk, Pierre. Thank you very much. Just one word. We have been speaking with Bogi a lot, not only about the division between East and West, but also about the division between North and South, because there are substantial differences also between North and South, irrespective whether those are the new members or the old members of the EU. And really great perspective in IHI. I am confident that the new members will take a bigger stake in this public-private partnership. Now it's time to announce a short break so everybody can have a coffee or a lunch or a dinner or just make a phone call. Thank you, everyone, and meet you again in 15 minutes.